let's start talking about offers. Most important part of this business. If you're not making offers, you know the rest of the story. Basically what I've got 7 points here. I've got 4 myths. I've got 3 things not to do. And then down the bottom, I've got the number 1 rules. Here we go. 7 steps, 7 things that your offer has to have, okay? Your LOI, your letter of intent. And first off, I just remember one that I didn't put up here, and I'm going to start right now. Folks, and this is basic, and some of you are going to be like, really, Charlie, you have to talk about this? And I'm telling you guys, I have so many students, I get so many different formats. Here's the thing. The letter of intent is a business letter. Put it on your stationery. Put your head, go out and create stationery. Go on, Microsoft Word, find stationery. Make it a business letter. Make sure all the font is the same. Make sure it follows all the typical, wording of what a business letter should have. The date, the address, the subject line. Just make it a classy letter. It's a letter. It's not a form. It's not a contract. It's just a letter. That's all it is. It's like that thing you sent to the girl in 3rd grade. I like you. Do you like me? Check yes or no. That's what a letter of intent is, okay? So the first thing, make sure that you set it up as a letter. Now, one of the first things that you have to have in your letter of intent, can you all see that? Haha, I bet you can, is the question, is it going to be a binding offer? All right, now let me explain that to you. And this is very important because there's been some recent case law here in Massachusetts regarding binding and non-binding offers. You might think to yourself, hey, I just throw out an offer. That's not a contract. I'm not really buying this property. I'm waiting to get to contract. Well, there was a court in Massachusetts that found that because it didn't say non-binding, and because it didn't say this is preliminary to a contract, the letter of intent was construed as an offer, and it was accepted, and that was it. The guy was buying it. So you have to make sure that your offer clearly states that it's non-binding, and it clearly states that there will be a contract to purchase that will be drafted subsequent to this offer. Okay? Our templates have that wording in there. If any of you are doing your own thing, make sure that you have it in there and you're protecting yourself. My recommendation is you make all offers non-binding. Just don't make them binding, all right? Make sure you have that. All right, second thing. Here we go. What's next? Okay, in the offer is, and I know I have to do this so everybody can see. Now think about this, guys. Remember what I say. Getting your offer accepted is the first sale. Oh, I need to mute everybody? Okay, fine. I shall mute you all. Mute all. There we go. You can unmute yourself when you want to. I just took care of it. Thanks, Ira. Yeah, okay, there we go. Good. We're all set. Good. All right. Thanks, everybody. Okay. So the next thing is price. Remember, folks, this is your first sale you're making in your new business. The first sale is to get an offer accepted. Getting the seller to yes. When he sees your offer, he's going to say, yes, I accept your offer. So the next thing that's going to be on the letter of intent is the price. Now think about it from a strategic standpoint. Now in this particular example that I gave earlier, all right, the seller wants 1.2 million. The owner forum member is offering 900,000. Now, from a strategic standpoint, what I would want that owner forum member to do is to start her number and really end her number at 1 million. Because from a psychological standpoint, the owner is going to look at that offer and he's going to see the 1. He's still off by $200,000, but he's going to see the 1. The offer that was going out, it shows a 9. Right away, the guy's like, too low, no, not interested. But if he just sees the 1, and if we just increase our offer a little, we'll trick him into thinking that our offer is so much grander. Price can come down during the due diligence process, but that is what I want you to think about. Because I had a couple of students on here, they had a $6 million deal, and they offered $5,950,000. I said, why? Why that? Just make it 6. Your offer looks so much better at 6. So think about how the offer is going to look to the seller. That's your first sale. And just for the record, in this particular case of the deal today, when we went to 1 million, it's such a small property. When we went to 1 million, the numbers didn't look good. 900, the numbers look actually pretty good. A million, you're just cutting it close. So let's go out at the 900,000 on that one. But just keep that in mind. Now, the other thing about the price is how is that number broken down? Now, on the long form LOI, we don't explain how we're buying it. On the short form letter of intent, we talk about how it's broken down. Now, the reason why we do that is because if there's any type of seller financing that we're asking for, we want it to show up very clearly right there. If you're looking for any type of seller financing, this is the time to ask for it. Essentially, everything that you're looking for in the deal needs to show up in the letter of intent, because what happens is once you get an offer accepted, that letter of intent goes to the lawyers, and we go through it with the purchase and sale contract, and we make sure the two of them match up. And so during the purchase and sale contract, that's not the time to be asking for seller financing. You do that during the letter of intent stage. Okay, so the letter of intent, the purchase price in the letter of intent is going to show any type of seller financing. It's going to show the earnest money deposit. It's going to show essentially the down payment if you're using the short form. Now, here's why you add those two other elements. Is first off, you have to, if you're really serious about this deal, you want to show a strong earnest money deposit number. Because if you show up with $100 for earnest money, the seller's going to throw you out. Like, oh, this guy's a joke. And you lost your first sale. So be strong with your earnest money. All right, make sure that it looks good. Make sure it makes sense. And then put it in that purchase price section. Now, the other part has to do with the down payment. If you're coming to this thing and you're trying to buy this deal, no money down, 100% financing, you are a weak buyer. You are not a strong buyer. So you need to make sure that you go out there and you figure out, you're going to show this seller that I am strong, I'm the guy to choose, let me have this property. So that's what's happening, why we put those numbers in there. It all goes to making your first sale. And that means your product has to look better than everybody else's. So that's why we do that. We break down that purchase price number. Any questions? Let me see. That's a great strategy. Yeah, yeah, that's a great strategy. Shh. Is there a percentage of sale price you recommend for earnest money deposit? Yeah, 1% typically, is good enough. I know, Bill, you and I were looking at some smaller properties. You were dealing directly with the seller. You could go with 1%. You could go with, when you're dealing directly with a seller with no broker involved, sometimes you can get more creative. Now, the other thing too, and we'll get to it in just a moment because I'm going to talk more about the earnest money. Let me talk about that next. Boy, I usually start over here with three mason jars full of water. I think I'm going to go through all of these today. All right, let's see. Next, number 3 is, what do you know? Like I knew what was next. The earnest money. Okay, let's talk about this. The earnest money. A couple of different ways to do it. As we just said with Bill, 1% of the purchase price, typically your standard earnest money deposit. If you're dealing with a broker, the brokers tend to want 1% earnest money. Now, remember, this is your first sale. You're trying to make your product, which is the offer, look really good. So can you get creative with the earnest money deposit so that you stand out from everybody else? And the answer is yes, there is. And what you want to do is maybe you have 2 tranches, as we call them, 2 tranches of earnest money, meaning we'll put a certain amount down during the inspection period. And if we get past the inspection period and we want to move forward, we will put another deposit down, a second deposit of earnest money, another 1%. Or maybe what we do is we say, and this is a killer. I was having this conversation with Mike Butler, I think earlier, is the earnest money can be hard on day one. Think about that. If you are a seller of a property and somebody comes up to you with an offer that says, if you accept my offer, this $50,000 is yours on day one. Note that if I decide I don't want to buy the property, my money is gone. Who makes those types of offers? Very confident people that can drop 50 grand and it doesn't hurt. Or if you're building a fund, if you're trying to create a fund that you can buy property, that's the type of vehicle that can do those types of things. Because if you're out there raising private money in the form of an apartment fund, you've got $1 million sitting in your fund and you need to put it to work. So if you are making offers and that perfect property comes along and you look at it and say, I want that property. What do I have to do to get that property? Well, I'm going to make my offer hard on day one. $50,000. If you accept my offer, I take it. Guy says, great, it's yours. I'll take your offer. $50,000, you got the deal under contract. You go through the due diligence phase. At the end of the 30 days, you say, nah, this thing's a dog. I'm not buying it. You just lost $50,000. You got $1 million sitting in a bank account looking to go to work. You just lost $50,000. Okay, cost of doing business. We'll move on to the next one. So those are a couple of different ways that you can write that earnest money deposit differently so that you can stand out from the crowd. Remember, guys, the guys when he's call for offers and they have all the offers lined up, these are the things that the sellers look at to determine whose offer rises to the top. All right, and you want it to be your offer. Okay? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, water. Yeah, water. Of sale price you record. Okay, next, number 4. Oh, yeah, number 4. Okay. Inspection period. Now, you have to think about your audience when you're making this offer. You have to think about who is going to be looking at this offer. If you're making an offer on a bank-owned property, don't even bother doing a 30-day inspection. They're not going to accept it. They're going to give you 10 days to look at this property. And you think to yourself, well, wait a minute, 10 days to look at the property, I'm not going to have enough time to do the due diligence. I'm not going to have enough time to do the numbers, to evaluate the finances. The bank is going to look at you and say, hey, there's nothing to look at. This is a bank-owned property. It's a non-performing asset. The numbers don't work. So you have to recreate the numbers on your own to determine whether that property is going to work at that price. So think about who you're talking to make sure that the inspection period works for the audience. Now, typically, we like to see 30 days, all right? Now, I can tell you on this deal that I'm looking to make the offer on, I'm going to ask for a 45-day inspection period, 700 units, no financing contingency. Okay, so I've got 45 days to figure out whether I'm going ahead with this deal or not. All right, so think about the inspection period and how long you're going to need to make it happen. Now, I don't care, this 700 units, it doesn't really matter. I can go through them. I can have a team of people go through them in 30 days. That's not a problem. For those of you that remember, if you watched the due diligence training seminar, training program the last, recently, remember the 30-day inspection period, the first 2 weeks of the 30-day inspection happens in your office. You don't even go out, you don't even leave the house, all right? What you're doing is you're doing all the financial modeling right there from the financial information that they give you, and if it passes muster, then you're gonna go out and do the physical inspection. So just remember, that's typically how a 30-day inspection goes, all right? Let me just check to see. I got a big, huge one from Brian. Do you call it Charlie? On Earnest Money. If you're putting up 1% on a $2 million off price and you get to the due diligence and it's a dog, seems like you're losing $20,000. If you have $1 million in the bank, per your example, sure, cost of doing business. What if a $20,000 loss hurts too much? Do you focus on less expensive properties? No, because no. Brian, you're missing the point here. You're $20,000. Let's talk about the earnest money and what it means to be at risk. because this has happened. And I've been involved in these situations both as an investor, as a consultant, and as an attorney. When you put the earnest money up, it is not gone. If you write the offer in such a way that the money goes hard on day one, yeah, it's gone. It's gone. But if you typically write the earnest money so that you put it up on whenever you decide that it's due, then you go through the due diligence process and you realize, like you said, Brian, the deal is a dog. Well, then you terminate the transaction. You terminate the contract and your money comes off the table. And the escrow agent sends you your money back. Your money's not hard. Your money does not go hard until after the inspection period. And listen to this, and this is something I want to stress because so many people, they're taught this wrong by one particular guru, and it drives me crazy. If you make it to the financing contingency period, your money is conditionally hard. You may get it back, no problems, no questions, but it could be conditionally hard, and the seller might fight you for it. In the situations I've been involved with, the money has been tied up in that financing contingency period, and it's been fought for. And it costs a lot of money in legal fees to fight that. So you better be darn sure at the end of the due diligence period that you're going to go ahead with this deal, and then you move into the financing contingency period. You still can get your money back in the financing period, but don't play games, guys. Don't play games. If you know you're going to terminate this deal, do it during the inspection period. Don't wait any longer. Don't think that, I missed the end of the financing, the inspection period. I'm just going to, I'll kill the deal during the financing period. And you never even applied for a mortgage. You never even spoke to a financing company. That seller is going to hang you out to dry. It's contingent. It's conditionally hard. Don't play games. All right. All right. So inspection period, 30 days, 45 days. That's typically what you see. Bank-owned properties, you're looking at 10 days. Who's buying 700 units? Someone in our group? Dude. Moi. Hello. The master. Sit back and watch, Cliff. Watch the master. Love Cliff. Love Cliff sitting in there, rocking back and forth, doing his deals. Okay, number 5, here we go. Any questions on that? And of course, the financing period. That's the next thing that's going to be in a letter of intent. Now, guys, remember, this is optional. You don't have to have a financing contingency period. You don't. When you put one in, it protects you, but it also weakens your offer. Because if a seller is looking at 2 offers that look exactly the same, all the numbers are the same, the dates are the same, but one has a financing contingency and the other one doesn't, the one without the financing contingency goes to the top of the pile. All right? So if you can write your offer without a financing contingency, do it. Now, I just told you that I'm going to try to write my offer in such a way that we don't need a financing contingency. We will need a partial financing contingency because out of the deal that we're doing, one of the deals requires us to assume the mortgage. Well, you know what? That's a third party in the transaction that nobody has any control over, and I want to get out of free jail card if I'm dealing with that particular bank. So in that particular deal, we are going to put a financing contingency and protect ourselves in that transaction. The other properties, we're going to try to go without a financing contingency and just close in 60 days. Okay. So because it's an A-class property, because we're dealing with a very sophisticated seller, we have to look sophisticated too. And we have to take that financing contingency out and make our offer look good. So let's say you're going to have the financing contingency in there. Now, what exactly does that mean? Typically, the way we write the financing contingency is in such a way that you can essentially drive a Mack truck right through it. It means that if you don't like the financing for whatever reason, you can kill the deal. Now, remember, guys, all contracts must be negotiated in good faith. All right. So if you have a financing contingency in there, you've got to make sure that you're acting in good faith, meaning this is not a free look, due diligence, 30-day inspection part of the deal. This is the financing period. It's getting real right now. That means you're going to go out to a bank and you're going to apply for a mortgage. That means it's going to cost you some money. That means you're going to go through the process. That means you're either going to be approved or you're going to be denied. And if you're approved, the terms, well, depending on how you wrote the financing contingency, you might end up having that deal bound, meaning that you are going to either close on that transaction by the closing date or you're going to lose your earnest money. All right. So always keep that in mind. That financing contingency starts to get the deal real. You're no longer sitting above your mother's garage anymore. You're playing with the big boys. All right. All right. Hey, Ivan, did you have garages in Croatia? Did you? Oh, you did? Okay, good. So you know what I'm talking about when you're sitting above your mother's garage. Okay, Cliff Kern says, I had a deal under contract with $25,000 down to bind the contract, and 30 days it would be hard if it was a bank property and needed approval of the court. The receiver told me that the money was hard, even though the court didn't approve it. Need to watch the agents. They will rip you off. Hey, Cliff, can you unmute yourself? Because I want to understand that a little bit more. Can you talk? No? Okay. No, you got no microphone. So I guess that also means that we can say anything we want about Cliff. There's nothing he can say back to us, right? Okay, cool. That's really interesting, Cliff. I'd like to hear more about that. Man, that stinks. That stinks. That's why you're absolutely right. And, guys, I'm telling you, you need lawyers. You need lawyers to look over these things. I know I talk about, I'm a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer, hire a lawyer. I help you out every step of the way as best I can. When you're down there, when you're putting this money in, when you start to execute a purchase and sale agreement, you had better have a lawyer in your jurisdiction helping you, all right? And I know some of you pull fast ones and you think I'm your lawyer and stuff like that. I'm going to act like a lawyer, but I cannot be the one to represent you. You always need to have local representation. All right. That being said. All right. Anything else? We'll rip you off. Okay, good. Okay, good. All right. I'm all caught up in numbers. Now, that's the financing period. Remember, it doesn't have to be in there, but if it is, you got to make sure that you're protected and that you know what it means and that you know how to get out of it if you have to. Let me tell you one story. Let me tell you. Okay, so this is a true story. So I had a client. He was in very early on in my coaching and my training. Man, this is going to be over 5 years ago. Okay, this guy comes to me after the purchase and sale contract was signed, which today I don't even get involved in those situations. I don't want to be involved. It's too far down. I can't help you. As I was trying to explain to somebody earlier, what I love about my business now is that I'm very proactive. I can help you out going into the deal to protect you in the transaction. When I was representing people as their attorney, it's all reactionary. You just have to get in there and fix the problems that they got screwed up on. And that's very frustrating because you can't really help these people. You just have to solve their minute, they're not a minute issue, but their issue at the time. Now we can help you ahead of time. What this guy did is he got into a purchase and sale contract, no lawyer representation, and then he calls me up and says, hey, help me do the due diligence. So we go through it, and this property is a dog. It was a dog the first day I looked at it. It didn't get any better. And the seller was in bankruptcy. And so the seller's law firm was holding the $10,000. Okay? So many mistakes with this already. He gets into the end of the inspection period, and the seller still has not turned over all of the financial information. Did he use my purchase and sale contract? No. Do you know why my purchase and sale contract is worded the way it is? This is one of the reasons. So he gets down to the last couple of days. I said, kill this deal now. He goes, no. We'll get the information. If we don't get the information, then we'll just kill it. The guy was promised all the financials right up on the last day. Guess whose phone didn't work for 2 days? The sellers. Nobody heard from the seller. 2 days passed. We're now in the financing period. Guy goes to kill the deal, and they say, no, we're not killing the deal. You never file for a mortgage. You never negotiated in good faith. You now owe me that $10,000. It's mine, and I'm in bankruptcy, and I need that $10,000. So my lawyer is going to turn it over to the court in what's called an interpleader. So he turns it over to the court. My client had to go through a hearing, a court case, a whole trial to get the $10,000. Expert witness. They had me fly down to Washington as an expert witness. Caviar, shrimp, champagne. I mean, hey, I was an expert witness. I had it all sent up to my room. It's a good thing my credit card cleared. No, anyway, I don't like any of that stuff. Anyway, so I had to be the expert witness in this testimony, in this trial. He won. He got his $10,000 back and a legal bill for $10,000 because he waited those 2 days. Don't do it. If there have any questions, remember, guys, we're coming down to the number one rule down here. And the number one rule, the reason why it's the number one rule is because if we don't do this part correctly, we will never be in control of the deal. This guy lost control of the deal when he went into the financing period. He terminated the deal, continued the negotiations, and waited for the information. That's how it should have been handled, but he didn't listen. Okay, so that's a financing period. Boy, I might go long here today. Wow, we are cooking. Closing date. Closing date. There it is. You see it? That's number 6. Number 6, closing date. One of the things, guys, in the templates that I have in the membership site, I'm going to update them soon, but here's the thing. They are templates. You manipulate them based upon what you want, okay? I have one template in there that has a 30-day inspection, a 45-day financing, and a 90-day close. Okay, that's just a template. I don't recommend those numbers. I don't recommend those dates and how to go, but you have to make sure that the closing date is a date that makes sense in light of all of the other dates. If you have a 45-day end of the financing period and then a 90-day close, that's 45 days between the two dates. No bank holds their interest rates for that long. So you got to make sure that those numbers make sense. Typically, what I like to do is a 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 75, 30, 45, 60, and it's just a nice flow. Every step of the way, you finish with one, you're going to wrap up the other, and then you're going to close right thereafter. So make sure that the dates on the closing date make sense in light of all the other dates on the contract, okay? Another mistake I see happen is don't make the closing date the same date as the financing contingency, the end of the financing period. Because your bank, typically, you get down to that point where you know you're going to do it or not, and the bank gives you approval. Well, it's going to take the bank 2 weeks to put all their paperwork together. So make sure that your closing date isn't a date that you cannot perform to. You never want to get yourself into a contract that you can't perform under. You're the one drafting it. You're the one signing it. Make sure you can perform under that contract, okay? Now I say, all right, how many doing a question? Oh, what do you do with deals where it says a price is TBD? If it says a price is to be determined, you really need to know the cap rate in that marketplace. And that's going to help you determine what the price should be, okay? So what you can also do is go on the cash flow analyzer software, put in the NOI, and then figure out what numbers work as far as a debt coverage ratio, as far as a cash on cash return at a particular price. And then that will help you determine what the cap rate is and see if that property is trading at that right cap rate. If you're looking at a Class A property and you put the numbers in, and once all the numbers are in there, it spits back out an 8 cap, well, then that deal is just not going to work. So, and remember, as I always say, the beautiful thing about multifamily is that the numbers are a ballet and they all work perfectly together. So if you know the NOI, you can put into the cash flow analyzer and start playing around with different variations to figure out what the price should be. The cap rate is going to help you determine whether that price is in line or not, or whether the deal is in line. So it's all a nice flow. So that's typically how you look at those TBDs. But remember, those TBDs are typically done by brokers that don't want to price it. They want the market to price it because they don't want to set a cap rate for that type of property. They want the market to set the cap rate. They want some guy with deep pockets from California to walk in there and buy it at a 4 cap. And so that's why they do those TBDs. Okay, figure out the comps in the area so you can at least get a guess. Okay, so Doug's got it right. Okay, good. Here we go. Oh man, that water's so good. Number 7. Okay, remember what all of my offers have, the Schedule 1. Guys, this thing was never in my early offers. It never was. And I'm telling you right now that it's the best move I ever made. And because it tells you right away whether the deal is going to move smoothly or if it isn't. I mean, there's a particular owner forum member right here on the call right now who is finding out why that Schedule 1 is a great idea, because the seller's attorney is playing games and saying and acting like he's never read that document before. It's on our offer. We give it to them the very first time we have our first written communication with them, and we state all the things we need. And if the seller can provide it, that deal is going to go smoothly. And if we get the deal executed and we're under contract and the guy shows up and he's not going to turn over anything because he doesn't have it, that deal's a dead deal. Move on. Just move on. And it's all because of that Schedule 1. So make sure, and we've crafted it. I've got to get back out there and update some of those templates, because we've got a nice Schedule 1 that has all the information you need. It's been developed over time. It's a great document. So make sure, and remember, typically the way we write the earnest money deposit is we don't put a dime down on the earnest money until we have all those documents. Because remember, look at my client that lost $10,000. He asked for those documents on day 1 and never got them, but he put his $10,000 up and he won, but he lost. So that's why we don't put any of our own hard-earned money into the deal until that Schedule 1 information is in our hot little hands. So make sure you do it that way, all right? So that Schedule 1 is a great document. Live by it. Make sure that when the offer comes back, counter offer comes back, signed, executed, or not even a counter, and the guy has marked off, crossed things out of the Schedule 1 that he doesn't have, that's great. You know that he's gone through it. You know that he's serious about giving you information to make the deal happen. So use that schedule to your advantage. Okay, myth number 1 about offers. You don't need any money to make offers. You don't need any money. So for those of you sitting there like, oh, I can't make offers, I can't do this. Listen, I'm going to show you the myths. You guys don't need anything. Just write the offers, guys. Get the activity going. Broker me put up $100,000 earnest money, proof of funds before he accepts the offer. Okay, put 100,000. Okay, but Anthony, you got to tell me more about the deal. Like, how much was the deal worth? What did $100,000 represent? And remember, out here in the Massachusetts area, 1% ain't gonna fly. That's how hot this market is, and you got to think about that too when you're talking about it. Anything in the Schedule 1 that absolutely are must-haves. Okay, Mike Butler says anything in the Schedule 1 that absolute must-haves for me, the bank deposits. I need to see the revenue coming in. That tells the story. And remember, guys, and I talk about this in the due diligence course, one of the biggest tricks the sellers do when they give you those bank deposits is you go in there and you look for deposits that end in 3 zeros. Why? Type it in. What are you doing on a deal that looks good otherwise? A seller via his broker says they want EMD to go to a neutral escrow title company like Chicago. Do you kill? No, you don't kill the transaction. You just go to Chicago Title. Chicago Title, or any of these, Chicago Title, Stewart Title, First National, First American. all great companies. We can work with them for the earnest money, okay? But preferably, we prefer to keep it in my firm's IOLTA account. Okay, so myth number 2. Did we finish myth number 1? Money, yeah, we did. Myth number 2. Oh, this one came up recently. I get this a lot. I don't have an entity. I don't have a company. I don't have an LLC. I don't care. Make up a name. Just throw it on the offer and send it out. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because you're never going to own the property in the name of the entity that you're making the offer in. You know, you're going to create, the day before you buy this property, you're going to create an entity with whatever state it's in. You know, 123 Main Street, LLC. Well, you're not going to make an offer in the name of 123 Main Street, LLC. That's a property you're making an offer on. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. Don't worry about it. Just make the offer, okay? Stumped me on the, oh, he stumped who? He stumped Mike Butler. They padded the deposits. Iris says, why 3 zeros? Cash deposit. They're making cash deposit. Okay, they're making cash deposit, but what they're making are in our owner, what do we call it? We had a term for it in the accounting. Essentially the owner is putting money into the deal. An owner is not going to make a deposit into his own bank account, his own company's property's bank account in some crazy number. He's going to give the property $10,000. So you see a deposit going into that cash deposit, that monthly deposit, a monthly bank statement for $10,000. And you look at it, you think it was wait a minute. They collected rent that month equal to exactly $10,000? No, the owner, the property was losing money. The property is struggling. They needed to put some money down. He writes a check for $10,000. Why? Well, I thought this property was doing great. I thought this property was able to pay its bills. Why is the owner putting in $10,000? And so that's the thing you look for. It's one of the tricks that they do. So you got to make sure that when you get all the bank statements, you start off with the deposits, and the deposits match up with the rental revenue and the other income. So if you see something with 3 zeros, you're like, whoa, wait a minute here. This doesn't add up. Okay? See? Yeah. One of the tricks the owners do all the time. All right. Number 3. We said no entity. Number 3 is I don't have the financing lined up. Well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I mean, when we start making offers, when we're putting together the deal, in our minds, you have to think about how am I going to get this deal financed? You always have to think about that. But if you don't have the answer for it, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Don't let that be a roadblock to you getting this deal under contract. Don't let that be a roadblock to you just getting offers out the door every day, okay? That's your responsibility, just get those offers. Charlie's answer is better than mine. This is like he's leading up to, it's like Charlie's answer is better than mine, but I'm much better looking, Doug Benson. But these days, guys are running all of their businesses out of one account. True. What do you mean, Doug? Do you mean like you think the guy owns a bunch of properties is doing it all in one bank account? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't see that. I won't. Yeah. I never ran my properties that way.
Charlie, I'm only mentioning that the last 2 buildings that
I have 4 LLCs, and do you have 4 LLCs? You have separate bank accounts for each one. Yeah. So Cliff, you have to. I mean, it's crazy. These guys that are running properties like it's their own personal cash checkbook, it's a disaster. I mean, it's a disaster. You have a guy show up, and the way he provides you with the financial information is with a Schedule E. Yeah, it costs more in taxes. Also costs more on every year with the governor registering those things. You have a guy who gives you a Schedule E. You love that because he's not going to lie to the IRS, and he's going to try to minimize his income as best he can with the IRS. So Schedule E's can certainly help you. Those are a lot easier. So all right, number 4. I don't have any investors. Boy, I'm seeing this one more and more. Well, I haven't found the money yet. I haven't gone out. Yeah, but once you go out and talk to the investors, they're going to tell you, well, show me a deal. And well, I don't have a deal yet because I don't have any investors. Well, you don't have any investors because you don't have a deal. I know it's a very frustrating part of this business. I get it, guys. But remember, you're always looking for properties and you're always looking for money. All right, so you got to be doing both at the same time. It's a two-legged stool, and it stands up beautifully once you get it going. So make sure that you're always looking for money and you're always looking for properties, but don't let the lack of investors early on in your business prevent you from getting your business off the ground, okay? Everybody get it? Now we'll come down and close. I'm going to go very quickly because I'm obviously running long. Because I want to go home. I still got an hour ride. All right. Don't write an offer with a repair allowance. Just don't do it. I know there's one guru that says 3%. You just put 3%. They'll give you that. Don't do it. You've just bargained away one of your best chips. Wait until the end of the inspection period. Okay? Then decide whether you need a repair allowance. And if you do, that's a much stronger period for you to negotiate. Because the guy has had this property under contract, he's coming up in the inspection period, he thinks, oh man, that closing day is coming. That closing day, payday is coming. Let's make this happen. And boom, you hit him with a repair allowance. Wait, don't put in that first one. Number 2, never ask for a second mortgage. Don't ask for a second mortgage. You'll lose control of the deal. Go ahead and ask for seller financing. Just don't call it a second mortgage, okay? I'm not going to get too much more into that. I talk about that so much on other videos. I think I even talk about it on lesson 5. Lesson 5 talks all about that. Do not forget what number 3 is, like I am right now. All right? I can't remember what I meant for number 3, okay? Go watch the video. Finally, why did we do this? Why did we go through all of this stuff? Because, guys, remember what the number 1 rule is. What's the number 1 rule? Tell me who's going to get the gold star today. Who's going to get it? Stay in control of the deal. I know that was Cynthia. That was not Stephen that wrote that. I know that's definitely Cynthia. Always remain in control of the deal. And that starts with drafting the offer the right way. If you don't draft the offer the right way, it's going to come back and bite you. If you set everything up perfectly on the offer side, you're going to flow right through the whole entire process and you will always remain in control of the deal.